lucky to marry a Bridgerton, especially a Viscount. Um, her interest is more to protect her sister, and they run into each other several times throughout the book. There's a lot of banter. There's a lot of tension. It is thick. Everybody sees it but them. They are absolutely dum dums. They're dummies, but we forgive them. And they're sort of trying to like protect each other from falling in love because she doesn't want to fall in love. She thinks she's not marriageable. He wants to marry without love. And in all of that action, something is a brewing, something is happening.
And so basically, Mr. Anthony has set his sights on Edwina. He's like, she is the one. She's agreeable. She's exactly what society deems as the perfect lady. She is the season's incomparable. Kate, however, is in his way. And he's like, I need to manage her. And Kate over here, is like, I need to manage him. So now they're both trying to manage each other because Kate swears on her life, if you touch my sister, I'm going to cut you. And Anthony's like, why would I be scared of a woman? You know? And so they continue butting heads, arguing. But what's funny is as Anthony is trying to court Edwina, he ends up spending so much time with Kate. And all of their banter and their arguing and their fights or whatever have this underlying sexual tension because they both have these moments where they're like, you're really hot and I want to kiss you. um, and so it all kind of leads up to this party that Mama Bridgerton is throwing at the Bridgerton's country house, Aubrey Hall. And at the start of this trip, Kate and her family are coming out of a carriage. Kate is last. Anthony's up in the window, lurking like a creeper. And he literally sees Kate and is like, oh shit, completely forgets about Edwina. Like, not even a thought in his mind about homegirl, you know? And that freaks him out. And so now they're at Aubrey Hall. They're basically there for like a couple of days. And every interaction he's having with Kate and every interaction Kate's having with Anthony, they're realizing that everything is not as it seems. Kate is realizing that Anthony is not the rake she thought he was. Like, his reputation doesn't tell her everything about him as she, kind of thought it did. He is a family man. He cares about the people around him. He is the hero, in a lot of ways. And Anthony is completely mesmerized by Kate in these interactions because he realizes there is so much more than meets the eye with her. She's nothing like what society deems perfect woman by any means, but she like cuts through his bullshit and she also holds her own. She's very much her own person and he likes that about her, and he finds that he really likes that about her. And nearing the end of this trip at Aubrey Hall, at this point Anthony and Kate have had very intimate moments where it's very much the two of them and it's very laced with sexual tension. They've also had these really fun moments where they've just enjoyed each other's company, like playing Pall Mall. And during kind of the end of this trip, Kate finds herself in the garden early in the morning. Anthony's still being a creeper in the window. He ends up seeing her and like running after her. And this is the moment where Kate's basically realized on this trip that there's nothing holding her back from saying no anymore. So she gives him the okay. But he's not as happy as he thought he would be. No, no, no. He's actually a little disappointed. Why, Anthony, are you disappointed? He's not going to tell you because he doesn't fucking know. He's like, I'm confused. But all of a sudden, buzz, buzz, what is that? There's a fucking bee. Anthony is deathly afraid of bees because unfortunately his father passed away from a bee sting. So he has this very big fear of bees ever since then. And there's a bee coming straight for Kate. And he's freaking out because he's like, she's gonna die. And she's over here like, Anthony, it's just a bee. She ends up getting stung and situations arise. The way he handles the situation is a sticky situation. It just becomes a sticky situation all around. And they end up being caught in a very compromising situation, and that leads to them having to be married. Cue the wedding bells.
With every enemies to lovers, forced marriage situation, they are already halfway in love with each other. Nay, I would say at least 75% of the way. They early on establish that, maybe love isn't what's going to happen for us. Namely, Anthony is the one who's like, listen, you're a babe, and like what we have in bed is like magical. And in fact, I've never had it as good as I have it with you. But let's not get crazy and start throwing the L word around because it's not going to work out. And Kate, who is very like pragmatic, she's like, you know what, fine, whatever, whatever. Um, you're overall nice guy. And so in his endeavor to avoid his wife, he starts to occupy himself with his position in parliament, visiting his family, doing all these things now that he is a married man. He is, expected to do more in society because he's no longer a bachelor. Sort of, these are the rules of um, high society in those times. Is that when you're married, you kind of take on more responsibilities because you become a pillar in the community. You're a viscount, and so he does all these things to avoid his wife. But he finds that in doing so, he has spent more time thinking about Kate than actually doing what he needs to do, and he starts showing up at home at very random times with no real reason. And Kate is happy for him to be there. And obviously, she loves her husband and they're like getting it on in every corner. This is forcing Anthony to come to terms with the reality of his feelings, that he can't just do everything a loving husband would do, but not have the courage to say, I love you. And he is, by all means, by all accounts, he's a great partner. He's a great husband. He's very loving, very supportive to Edwina, towards Kate. He's a great brother-in-law. And in this moment, in this sort of intense, moment of passion and love, Kate says, I love you. And that throws, homeboy Anthony in a spin. He thought that he had everything under control. He thought that if he did everything by the book, he wouldn't fall in love. But when he's confronted with this, he panics and he leaves. He just gets up in the middle of the night, and poor Kate is so confused, but he's like, I have to leave. I have to go. And she's like, oh, okay. Just like, when are you coming back? He's like, I don't know. Don't ask me. Later on, she finds out that he is, at his parents' house, the Bridgerton Manor. She goes to talk to him there, and he's like, leave. Like, I don't want to talk to you. And she's hurt by this. But again, she's mature, she's pragmatic. She's like, when you want to come talk, you know where to find me, and leaves. She doesn't grovel, she doesn't beg. She has the respect and the dignity to walk away from someone who is treating her poorly. And this is why we love Kate, because she sets up these standards for us. And so his siblings watch him kind of unravel, and his brothers are like, dude, just go home. Like, you obviously love her. Just tell her how you feel. She's awesome. She's a great woman, and you married a wonderful person. Stop. Just go home. And Benedict says one of my favorite lines in the entire series. And he looks at him and he says, Anthony, go home to your wife. And it's so beautiful because, of course. And then, obviously, our dummy finally realizes he gets struck by lightning and he's like, oh shit, I have to go find my wife and tell her I love her.
So he runs out of the house after his brothers tell him he's being a dummy. And he's like, I need to go find my girl. I need to find her. He tries to go home. She's not there. She has taken Edwina and Edwina's possible future husband out for a walk in the park, and they're out and about. And so Anthony rushes to the park and he sees his absolute worst nightmare. The carriage that is holding his precious, precious wife flips over, and his heart is in his ass. All of a sudden, he can't breathe. He's like, what is happening? And I love that he's kind of faced with, because the whole book, he's faced with his mortality, And I think in this moment, he's also faced with her mortality, because he was so worried that, like, I can't love my wife and who I end up with, because I feel like, because I know I'm going to die young and I'm going to leave my family and my wife behind. And I think in that moment where, Kate is in danger, he's like, holy crap, she could leave me at any moment. And then where would I be? I'm like spending my life scared and not telling her that I love her. How dumb, stupid, stupid, stupid. And so he runs to be the savior, um, trying to get her out, and making sure she's okay. And it's so funny because I think this scene really shows how they are as a couple. He's like rushing to her side. He's like, Kate, Kate, Kate. Kate is like half crushed by this carriage, and she's like, dude, shut the fuck up. Can you just pull me out, please? And he's like, no. He's like, I would die without you, da da da. And he's like trying to like declare his love for her and how he'd be lost without her. And she's like, this can wait. Anthony, this can wait. I'm hurt. Get me out. Which I love Kate, because she's just perfect. Because that's what I would do. I'm like, dude, it's fine. Like, in 5 minutes, you can say what you want to say. So he gets her out, and he's finally able to tell her not only that he loves her so much, but he's able to tell her kind of the fear and the reasons why he's kept her at arm's length, and kept her away and kept himself away and closed off. And she's able to be that calming presence that he, I think, really needed in his life, and to tell him, hey, it's okay. If you believe it, I mean, I don't think you're going to, that your fears are going to come true, but I see that you feel like they are so true, and I'm going to be with you every step of the way, and we're going to live life as if you're going to live forever, and we'll see. And I think it's a really beautiful moment for both of them. It's literally just amazing, and I love the way that they just kind of end. And then of course we get a cute epilogue, showing that Anthony makes it to his 39th birthday, which is the same birthday, like his dad was 39 when he passed away, and Anthony never thought he would surpass his father in any sort of way, including age, which is why Anthony thought he was going to die young. And they just have this moment where it's super sweet. It's just the two of them. It's midnight of Anthony's birthday, and she's like, you made it. And he's like, I did. And it's so sweet, and it's so them, because it's not this big old production. It's just very simple. It's intimate. It's just the two of them kind of acknowledging that his fear has kind of been washed away in a sense. And
I
it's
love
just
it.
perfect. And that's the end of the Viscount Who Loved
I
Me.
love it. So like it's really my comfort read. I think last January when I read it, I think I read it 4 times. I just kept rereading it because I was discovering so many more little things here and there. And obviously season 2 is right around the corner. It's coming out March 25th. And the trailer, it kind of shows a little bit more of the direction. Of course, how the show, I think here are my predictions. I think they will implement the broad strokes, like the big lines that happen in the book, but there are going to be teeny tiny things that will be removed and included. There is an element in the trailer that kind of was like, huh, okay. Eloise is going to have a love interest. You and I are very protective of Eloise, but I think it'll be good for her to have some type of, someone making her feel love. What do you think?
I disagree. I wholeheartedly disagree. But it's just because I'm very much, like I said, Eloise and Sir Philip are one of my favorite couples, not only in the Bridgerton series, but just in my, like, the romance genre in general. I love them together. I love them separately. And so seeing Eloise even smile at another man, I was like, no, no, no. Which is unfair because Eloise,
Yeah.
can have her cake and eat it too, whatever. But I just love her for Sir Philip. And obviously, I think that it's whatever they're doing will make sense in the way. I think they've changed already quite a bit of their Sir Philip and
Yeah.
Eloise's story in a lot of ways. A lot of choices for the better, I think. So I think this is just one of those things that's setting up their story. But It's hard for me to watch her with someone who's not Sir Philip, and I think it's gonna